Arousal in agility, poison or fuel? Arousal in dog sports is overrated.
We rely on it too heavily thinking it will make our dogs perform better, but it can in fact set us light years back in our training progress.
We fell victim to this mentality too. 10 or so years ago, we all started our training sessions off by hyping our dogs up, thinking it would make them run faster on the agility course. This came to bite me in the butt afterwards, and we'll give you some concrete examples of how later on in this video. But for now, let us tell you this. What we've learned over time is that in the long run, arousal doesn't actually improve your dog's speed on the field.
While it may temporarily ignite their spirit, it can just as easily derail your training progress, acting like a double-edged sword. Excessive arousal can hinder learning, performance, and behavior in dogs, even leading to stress and reduced enthusiasm for the task at hand. The real recipe for success and reaching speed and precision is by teaching your dog to work in optimal arousal.
And it is crazy to me that pushing dogs with arousal is still so prevalent in the dog sports world, when in the world of human sports psychology, it has been widely accepted that too much arousal is detrimental for performance for over a century now.
One of the most widely accepted theories that outlines the relationship between arousal levels and athletic performance is the inverted U hypothesis by Yerkes and Dodson. It states that arousal will increase athletic performance up to a certain point, the optimum. However, once arousal levels exceed the optimum level for the task at hand, performance will decrease. In other words, arousal is necessary for successful performance in sports, but not too much of it. If the athlete suffers from over-arousal, this can hinder their ability to concentrate, to be precise, and to problem solve. If arousal levels are especially high, they can even spark the fight, flight, or freeze response. In either case, be it under or over-arousal, the athlete is incapable of completing the task to the best of their abilities. So, how does this come into play with agility dogs? Agility is a perfect example of a sport where the inverted U theory applies seamlessly. To perform well in agility, your dog must have some level of arousal. Agility requires a lot of speed, powerful movement, and heightened senses from your dog, all of which come alongside arousal. A dog who does not have enough arousal will likely appear slow, trot through the field, glance around, and daydream. At a competitive level, they will not rank amongst the top performers. However, too much arousal is also not beneficial. Unfortunately though, it is common, especially amongst breeds bred for physically demanding work that requires a sharp eye and a keen mind. For certain dogs, agility can be incredibly exciting, sometimes too much so. Just like under-arousal, over-arousal can quickly make things fall apart too. An over-aroused dog on the agility field will likely have trouble concentrating, lose precision, and have a clouded mind. This might look like a dog who only knocks bars down on competitions, has trouble honing into your verbal commands, runs aimlessly around the course, barks hysterically, says hi to the judge, slows down, leaves the course, makes mistakes, crashes through jumps, has random zoomies, alert barks. It can be a dog who jumps over the seesaw target even though you've spent months training it at home, a dog who exits the weaves too early, and more. A competition environment is an excitingly nerve-wracking one, not only for the handler, but also for our dogs, which makes it even easier for either one to fall over into a stressed, over-aroused state where precision and concentration start to fall apart. On the other hand, a dog who operates at an optimal state of arousal during training and at competitions is one who can run fast and accelerates, but also does not lose precision, maintains a sharp mind, has no trouble listening to your verbals, effortlessly pays attention to your body language, and adjusts their movement accordingly. Agility is a sport which requires speed, but with that, it is also a sport which requires a resilient mind and a whole lot of focus, decision-making, awareness, and precision. It is a sport where your dog's performance improves significantly when they work at their optimal arousal level. To help you envision how arousal levels impact each and every one of our dogs, let me show you a video of my dog Ponyo working on his start line. Working on his start line stay while in different states of arousal. 1. In this video, you can see Ponyo working at an optimal level of arousal. He's happy to be there, excited to work, is not daydreaming, but maintains his focus on the task at hand, sticks to his criteria, and doesn't struggle with impulse control. He is confident with his task. 2. This is the second session, recorded only 2 weeks before the one you just saw. Here, Ponyo is in a state of slight overarousal. He's a naturally excitable dog who is prone to overarousal in certain situations. In this video, he has just come out of 2 weeks of rest due to a minor injury and is working with Monica, a person who he knows and loves, but also a person who he does not see very often and who makes him very excited. As you can see, all of this makes it harder for him to keep his cool. Ponyo still succeeds for the most part, but you can see that the task is hard for him. He finds it more difficult to concentrate and stick to his criteria. He even breaks his stay multiple times, despite the fact that he knows this exercise very well and has practiced it since puppyhood. As soon as he's released, he bursts out of his position in excitement. You can even see him get distracted by an airplane passing by, a stimulus that would generally not throw him off track if he was operating in optimal arousal. However, here, you can see him notice the plane, lose focus, and let out a quiet bark. Now, what's the solution? So what can you do to teach your dog to work with optimal levels of arousal? With under-arousal, as mentioned at the start, if your dog is generally an easygoing dog that likes to take things slow, the solution is never to hype them up. Speed comes with natural ability, understanding, and confidence, not with excitement. A common mistake owners make when working with a dog who does not display a strong love for the game is to hype them up in the hopes that they will give us more energy. In certain situations, this can work relatively well. However, more often than not, this method has a number of setbacks that can be detrimental to your goals. I, for example, verbally encouraged or hyped up my first Border Collie Kelly when she mentally drifted off during our training. In some aspects, this worked, and she eventually started to enjoy running agility, but what I got in response was a whole lot of frustration on her part. She would vocalize every time I gave her a command, run off course, and eventually even started to hastily chomp on grass every time she landed from performing a tight turn on a jump. Despite all of this, I was still unable to get her to stay in the game when I raised my requirements. She was never able to do multiple repetitions and would get bored if I didn't mix things up often. What I would do differently now is I would take things slower and ensure Kelly was successful every step of the way. I would lower my requirements until she really enjoyed the learning process itself and then slowly build things up from there, like work in more distracting environments, work on longer, more complex sequences, build precision, etc. In fact, I would take the same approach even if I had a dog that was prone to over-arousal, anxiety, or a dog who tends to break under pressure. I would always work on exercises that raise their confidence, make them feel like they're on top of the world, and on exercises that are easy and second nature for them. I would help them learn to love the process first and only then raise my expectations. This means I would also do these exercises in an environment where they can be relaxed, not overly alert, and where they can complete the task with ease to avoid frustration and stress. Now, if your dog is prone to excitement and over-arousal, make sure you pay attention to routine. Is your routine making your dog lose their cool? Can your dog predict your next 3 moves ahead of time and enters an over-aroused state before even diving into the task at hand? Break up your routine and try to form a new one that encourages your dog to maintain a calm state of mind. Does your dog notice when you pack up your agility gear before driving to the field and starts to vocalize and pace around before you even get going? Try to mix things up and take your dog into the car before packing your agility gear so that your dog enters the car calmly. A predictable routine can sometimes be detrimental for dogs who are prone to going into over-arousal. So, mix things up in a way that encourages a calm state of mind. Avoid situations where your dog can predict that the next exciting thing which they love is coming up. The more your dog practices staying in an excited, over-aroused state, the more likely it is that it will become their go-to. Nurture the right mindset. Encourage your dog to stay calm before competing. This may mean not playing and getting their energy high before the start, but rather warming them up with food, tossing treats in the grass to calm them down, and working on calm exercises instead of crazy ones before the start. Play with arousal. Once your dog has good foundations, you can test them a little by raising their arousal slightly and then sticking to your criteria so that they can learn to work through a slightly heightened state of arousal and bring it down themselves. So to reiterate, focus on building confidence and understanding. With that comes the speed. Next, work on nurturing optimal arousal by teaching your dog to work through their excitement or to build it up by nurturing a love for the game.
Lastly, if you would like to know more about how arousal levels can impact your agility dog start line stay and what you can do if you own a dog who can wait perfectly during training sessions but messes up on every competition, head on over to our Solid Start Line Stay course and train a trustworthy stay that you can rely on.